The Center for American Progress has put forward ideas and proposals to reform the beneficiary structure of Social Security. Some of our progressive allies aren't as excited about that as we are.
Joe Biden has named Neera Tanden, who is the president of the Center for American Progress, as his new Office of Management and Budget Director, or OMB Director. This is a pick that is either overtly trying to showcase how anti-left the Biden administration is going to be, or the Biden campaign or admin is so out of touch that they aren't aware of how much Neera Tanden is hated and how much her history shows that she is against the left, despite what her job title as the president for Center of American Progress attempts to communicate. This is a group that is incredibly pro-corporate, have always worked under the guise of pretending to be this progressive group, not actually progressive, and I'll get to a lot of that in a second here. First, let me show you or describe to you what the OMB director actually does. Now, this article is from the 19th, November 19th, and just double checking, yes. And it's actually about Bruce Reed. So Bruce Reed, surprisingly, would have been a worse pick. I know it's hard to imagine as much as we know about Neera Tanden, or maybe you don't know, I'll get into it in a second. But Bruce Reed would have been a worse pick. He is more conservative, more ideologically conservative, more pro-austerity. Neera Tanden is really just more of a loyal soldier, as she's even described herself as. Somebody that will take orders, but is not a thought leader the way that Bruce Reed would have been in terms of being more conservative in the approach that he would have taken with the OMB. But here they say, this is the American Prospect. They do fantastic reporting on all of Biden's picks so far, and also speculation in terms of who he may pick in the future. But they write here, OMB, which is part of the White House staff, prepares the administration's budget proposal after bargaining with cabinet departments and advises the president on spending. With interest rates near zero and the Fed pumping up financial markets, the usual fiscal hawk blather about needing to cut deficits to reassure the bond market is even more nonsensical than usual. OMB also houses the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, a key choke point for federal regulations. All new rules from executive branch agencies have to go through the economists at OIRA, who apply cost-benefit analyses to alter or deny or delay rules. In past presidencies, including Democratic ones, it has been where many ambitious proposals go to die. So basically, you're looking at a position here where you're going to have Neera Tanden in charge of Biden's spending agenda. Now, yes, there are many agencies that work in tandem when it comes to this, but they absolutely have a say over the kind of spending that Biden will push for in his administration. And based on Neera Tanden's record and what she has fought for in the past, what she's been a loyal soldier for, it doesn't sound very good for the American people. Now, let me start with how the Biden campaign communicated this pick. They say here, Neera Tanden, whose career has focused on pursuing policies designed to support working families, foster broad-based economic growth, and curb rampant inequality, is nominated to serve as director of the Office of Management and Budget. If confirmed, Tanden will be the first woman of color and first South Asian American to lead the OMB. Again, here you have a focus on identity as opposed to what she's actually done, and the claim here that this is somebody who is who has been in support of working families and to curb rampant inequality is just completely ridiculous. It's counterfactual, and I'll get to a lot of that in a second. First, I just got to show you how some conservatives are reacting to this. The conservative idea of what the left is a cartoon. I mean, Meghan McCain here. So Bill Kristol, who is a far-right conservative, pro-Iraq war, but just spoke out against Trump. He is actually in support of Neera Tanden, which should tell you how conservative Neera Tanden actually is. But Meghan McCain here, criticizing Bill Kristol's support of Neera Tanden. Two conservatives here. Meghan McCain saying, please don't insult me and say, as a serious conservative, I should be supporting the head of the hard left advocacy group, Center for American Progress. Intellectually dishonest and craven on your part, Bill. Hard left? Hard left. I will get to a complete dismantling of that in just a second. First, Bree Joy here tweeting out, everything toxic about the corporate Democratic Party is embodied in Neera Tanden. And this is exactly right, which is why the Center for American Progress. This is why it is not hard left. Kenneth Vogel of the New York Times tweeting out here, under Neera Tanden's leadership, Center for American Progress accepted millions of dollars from Wall Street, big banks, tech titans, including Mark Zuckerberg, foreign governments, including the UAE, defense contractors, and the healthcare industry. This is not a hard left group. This is not a group in support of policies like Medicare for all. And in fact, Neera Tanden fought against a $15 minimum wage when she worked for Hillary Clinton. So, a lot more to share here. Common Dreams writes, a Clinton loyalist with a penchant for demonizing progressives, Tanden was an architect of the Affordable Care Act and has since endorsed healthcare proposals like Medicare for America, a plan single-payer proponents have rejected as a false solution that would leave intact the most predatory elements of the for-profit system. As a representative of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, Tanden clashed with National Nurses United over Medicare for All during that year's Democratic platform fight. Tanden also has a history of expressing support for Social Security and Medicare cuts, as the Daily Poster's Walker Bragman documented, which I will share with you right here. This is a clip. Walker Bragman shared this, saying, flashback, Neera Tanden and her Center for American Progress pushed cuts to Social Security after the 2010 midterms. Watch this.
There's a viewer here who wants you to take us deeper into entitlements by Twitter. Ms. Tanden, do you know what the president means when he says entitlements are on the table? Any specifics and anything you would endorse?
Yeah, I mean, so there are a range of entitlements that, I think when we're talking about entitlements, we're talking about Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid. These are programs that people receive support because of the status that they have. So when after 65, you get funding from Social Security and Medicare. Actually, it's getting older for Social Security. But the president has $300 billion in his budget in cuts in Medicare. That comes on top of cuts in Medicare from the Affordable Care Act. So he has put specific cuts in the budget already in Medicare, and they had savings in Medicaid in the past. I think the question really is, if we're going to have a deal to address long-term deficit reduction, we need to put both entitlements on the table as well as taxes. It's unfair to ask only middle-class Americans to bear the burden of our deficits. Middle-class Americans actually didn't create the deficits. So I think the challenge is that we should have entitlements on the savings, on the entitlements, and the Center for American Progress has put forward ideas on proposals to reform the beneficiary structure of Social Security. Some of our progressive allies aren't as excited about that as we are.
I mean, that giveaway there at the end. Our progressive allies aren't as excited about cutting Social Security as we are. Yeah, I wonder why. So they're clear as day. Neera Tanden fighting for cuts to Medicare, to Social Security, discussing how the middle class shouldn't just be the ones paying. But look at how the conversation, again, I talk about this all the time when it comes to the media, how the conversation is framed. Why is it framed that you're taking for granted that, of course, cuts have to be done to entitlements, which, by the way, Americans pay into. That's why they get back those benefits. They pay into Social Security. They pay into Medicare. But the way it's framed around how, of course, there should be cuts to that, but we also should have, higher taxes on the wealthy. Why isn't the conversation, at the very least, the other way around, where, of course, there should be higher taxes on the wealthy, but then maybe some conservatives try exploring cuts to entitlements, which, of course, there should not be a cuts to entitlements. But the entire conversation, the way it's framed, even from what is supposed to be the left, the framing on the conversation is that, of course, we need cuts to these entitlement programs in addition to possibly having a wealth tax. Like, again, it shows you where the priorities are. It's always about placating those those with wealth, those with money, those in power, corporations. Now, more here from Current Affairs. Their breakdown, Nathan J. Robinson's breakdown of Neera Tanden. This was posted, I believe, in 2018. Again, I'll link to all this below the video. If you want to read through the whole article, you'll get a lot more from this. But just reading this piece here. CAP President, Center for American Progress, President Neera Tanden has described herself as a loyal soldier for Hillary Clinton, and despite heading a nonpartisan think tank, worked behind the scenes during the 2016 primary to try to erode Bernie Sanders' support. leaked internal emails reveal Tanden's own political instincts to depart from what is typically considered progressive. She advised the Clinton campaign against a $15 minimum wage, and in one disturbing instance, as Glenn Greenwald has reported, argued that, quote, Libyans should be forced to turn over large portions of their oil revenues to repay the U.S. for the costs incurred in bombing Libya, on the grounds that Americans will support future wars only if they see that the countries attacked by the U.S. pay for the invasions. This is deranged. The Center for American Progress does not just accept shady donations, it also gives them. Journalist Andrew Perez reported that, according to financial disclosure forms, CAP donated $200,000 last year to the American Enterprise Institute. The AEI is a right-wing free market think tank, perhaps best known as the longtime home of racist social scientist Charles Murray. Now, understand here that I'm only scratching the surface. This is a long article, goes deep into Neera Tanden's record, and I suggest you read through it if you want more information, because I would be I'd have to do like an hour video on Neera Tanden to actually give you the full picture, if not 2-hour video. But so that's just a small piece of it, but it shows you what she has fought for, what she has fought against, fighting against progress, fighting against a $15 minimum wage, fighting against Medicare for all, being a representative of those who are wealthy, of massive corporations, giving $200,000 to the American Enterprise Institute. So anybody on the right that is angry about Neera Tanden potentially being the director or being the OMB director, double check her record, because Neera Tanden is completely in line with conservative ideology. Now, yes, it's fair to say she has simply been a loyal soldier and not necessarily a thought leader on the issues. But that said, this is not somebody that the right should be worried about. Now, a little more here. So as Nomiki Konst tweets out here, Neera Tanden not only incited serious threats to many on the left with a megaphone, but she straight up pitched false hit/smear pieces on them, got them published, and then had her organized Reddit/Twitter/MSNBC army amplified to attempt to cancel those voices. History won't reflect well. So Neera Tanden not only has had a long career in the Center for American Progress of pushing against progressive policy, of being a representative of the corporate class, but also publicly in communications has been one of the loudest anti-left voices on the internet, and has used her status and the armies that she's been able to organize to push back against serious progress for the American people. Now, more here. Brianna Joy Gray tweets out, as COVID cases spike, Joe Biden hires Neera Tanden, who questioned CDC recommendations not to congregate in large groups and pushed in-person voting in March. She quickly reversed her position when belief in science advantaged her chosen candidate. An interesting choice. Not much to really explain here. Again, I link to all this below the video. You can check out the tweets. Neera Tanden, somebody pointed this out on Twitter. I think it was Sam Cedar. Neera Tanden has more tweets than Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has tweeted a hell of a lot. This is somebody who has spent a lot of her time tweeting, and a lot of that time tweeting, attacking the left. Now, a few more things here. Neera Tanden not only has removed progressive from her bio and replaced it with liberal, but she has also begun to delete thousands of her tweets. And they're not tweets of her attacking the left. No, those ones are still up. It's tweets being critical of Republicans. Those are the tweets that she has begun to delete, because she's afraid, of course, that during the process to approve her, that these old tweets will come up, that conservatives, that Republicans will bring them up and show and act like Neera Tanden is this hard left person, when in reality, this is somebody who is, yes, critical of Republicans, but is, I would say, even more critical, especially during a primary, of the left. And it is clear through the work that she has done as well. Last thing, as I referenced earlier, if you want more, read these pieces. This is from Current Affairs, Nathan J. Robinson piece. Fantastic. Why is the Center for American Progress betraying the left? Incredible breakdown here of what Neera Tanden has said and done. And this one as well, this is from Walker Bregman. Joe Biden's Neera Tanden pick is even worse than you thought. So check out this piece in Jacobin. Check out this piece in Current Affairs. I link to all this below the video. Neera Tanden, not a good pick and not a good sign for honestly just Americans in general.